Well, let's get talking now. The International Monetary Fund has said Nigeria needs a medium-term plan to reduce its debt vulnerabilities. The IMF asked the country to raise income from taxes, particularly through ensuring compliance and expanding the tax net in order to help it generate more revenues and cut regional debt. In a swift reaction, the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association is cautioning the federal government against this advice. The Director General NECA, Sadewale Oyerinde, noted that although hiking taxes will drive up revenues, but will have a negative impact on households, individuals, and businesses. He added that private sector players are already overwhelmed by multiple taxes without good infrastructure, and this will make the business community more vulnerable with a trade-off on growth and development. Well, let's just get straight to talking. And joining me live in the studio to look at this issue is no other person than the Director General of the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, Sadewale Oyerinde. It's also the first time on the show. Thank you so much. It's good to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. We're having you at a very this critical time where IMF is giving lots and lots of advices. Now, why do you think first that Nigeria should not look that way of increasing taxes? What are the issues? What are the burning issues that you think needs to be done? We know we have a revenue crisis.
Well, thank you for having us. And I must say categorically that we don't have problem with taxes. The private sector doesn't have problems with paying taxes. We don't have problems with complying with taxes. But when you come to the issue of tax in a broader term, certain parameters you have to look. And then certain context, you also have to put it in place. You must try to balance the delicate context of what are you going to tax, at what rate are you going to tax it, and then when are you going to tax? If you take those three contexts out of it, then your taxation policies become arbitrary without taking cognizance of the larger economic context. And we believe strongly that whatever form the tax is coming, tax should drive and promote consumption. It should not be burdensome, and it should regulate within the context of ostentatious goods, luxury goods. If you take the taxation out of that context, then it creates a lot of dynamics for the organized private sector. And quite interestingly, a few years ago, the PwC and the World Bank came up with a report that shows that a medium-scale business in Nigeria pays close to 69 different taxes annually, compared to other countries in the US, like 11, in South Africa, in Malaysia, lesser tax paid. Now, on what premise are we to increase taxes? If the premise to increase taxes is because we want to reduce our borrowing, why not look at the issue of instituting much more fiscal discipline? If you are borrowing and you can't pay, as someone rightly said, if you find yourself in a hole, the first thing you should do is to stop digging. So if we are borrowing and we've continued to borrow, then one of the things we should look at is how do we stop this borrowing by instituting very strict fiscal discipline.
Strict fiscal discipline. But let's talk about some of the challenges that the organized private sector has had to contend with in recent times. I know that a lot happened with the cash crunch and all of that, and we are still yet to recover from that. And now we are talking about increasing taxes again. Let's talk about some of these issues and what's been happening. You've been meeting with government. How have you been able to put all of this on the table?
You mentioned the cash crunch. Those are just part of the issues. We just came out of COVID, and the challenges that businesses faced during COVID. And now we are coming out of COVID. We had challenges with the threat of recession. The Russia-Ukraine war created some dynamics. And now we have the cash crunch that also stifled businesses significantly. And now the suggestion of increase in tax, which we have expressed our serious concern on. Now, businesses are facing serious challenges, both from the regulatory environment, both from the legislative angle, both from the fiscal and monetary policy misalignment. All those issues come together to create some level of uncertainty for organized businesses. And it's not only affecting organized businesses. And part of the things we've told government is this. You need to address the contradictions in the system. And I'll give you an example. In one breath, we are complaining about unemployment. And in the same breath, we have institutions of governments that are creating bottlenecks for organized businesses that are supposed to generate employment. So in one breath, you are complaining about unemployment, and in the same breath, you have inherent in that system structures that are actually stifling the creation of unemployment. Those are the issues we want government to address. Now, engagement has been going on, I must confess, seriously. Early today, I think there was an interactive forum with a Zoom meeting with FRS, and we must commend some agencies of government, really, that have shown receptiveness to engage. When businesses have challenges, we approach some of those agencies. They are willing to engage. They are willing to see the reasons why you are complaining and take proactive actions to resolve those issues. But not so for many other agencies. And we believe while we continue to engage, government should continue to listen, because the project Nigeria is all our projects. Just yesterday, we have to write to the president, write to the Attorney General of the Federation, and write to the office of the vice president, informing them that there is a bill currently on the table of the president waiting for his assent, the National Human Rights Commission bill. And in that bill, it has an insertion of organized businesses must pay 0.3% of profit after tax to fund that commission. We believe that is on the high side. As of today, I have over 18 different bills at the National Assembly that's also waiting for passage or deliberation at different stages. That's also inputting 1%, 0.5%, 0.3%. The organized businesses must contribute to fund one thing or the other. Who survives that kind of environment? And we are talking about the issue of foreign direct investment. Beyond the JAPA issue, the JAPA contemporary issue that we have of young Nigerians moving out of the country, we have a serious problem of corporate JAPAism now, where organized businesses are moving to other climes because of the temperate and hospitable environment that is provided by those other countries, which might compound the challenges that we currently have.
Well, let's move. But the government, many will say there are some laws like the Business Facilitation Act that has just been instituted. We have the PIA too, which is supposed to open up the downstream of the oil and gas industry, and where all of us are talking about subsidy removal at the moment and all of this. So many are saying that there are still some laws that are being instituted that will help support the ease of doing business initiative of government. How are all of this paying off for the organized private sector?
It's the contradictions that we have to deal with. And we are urging the president, and we've also tried to draw the attention of the incoming government to those issues. You come up with the Business Facilitation Bill, which is beautiful, trying to improve our rating, not only paper rating, but practical rating, what you check on the floor, what you check in the factory of our ease of doing business. While those are beautiful and good to hear, then how do you situate a business that is supposed to pay, either compelled to pay by crook or whatever means, 69 different taxes in a year? It negates the principle of ease of doing business that the president is clamoring. And that is why we reached out to him, and also we are already sounding out the incoming government that those are the critical issues they should look at. If you don't deal with the contradictions, you just be like somebody that is in a hole, and rather than stop digging, the individual continue to dig.
Let's touch on the fiscal and monetary side, which is also an argument that the organized private sector will always bring up, that there needs to be that synergy. Absolutely. Which many will say we have not really seen in this other, we know what's been happening from the Ministry of Finance and the Central Bank, some conflicting policies at times. Now, what's your take with regards to that sync, and what do you expect moving on the coming administration?
The Ministry of Finance, should ordinarily drive the fiscal policy, while the CBN drives the monetary policy. And it's the same system, the same organization in the context of a country. And both policies need to be in synergy. They must work in alignment. If there are conflicts, the leadership of those two policies should sit down and align those policies. If you don't have that, beyond creating uncertainties in your local environment, you're also raising the red flag for your investors, foreign direct investors. As at Q4 2022, we had a foreign direct investment drop by close to 30-35%. No country survives. Beyond your revenue, you need investors to come. So we need, in the incoming administration, even before the president leaves, that there must be serious alignment between those two policies. The Ministry of Finance is the custodian of trade policies. And a few years ago, the CBN came up with 42 items that cannot access Forex. And it was like the Ministry of Finance is a bit lost on that. If there's a trade policy that we sign into, and you say these activities, these products cannot access Forex, on what basis do you say they cannot access Forex? Probably there is scarcity of Forex. Now, if there is scarcity of Forex, which other policy options can we use to address the issue of scarcity of Forex? Now, there are businesses in this environment because there are lack of substitutes, no local substitutes to the inputs to their products. We have companies doing dairy products. We have companies importing inputs to their production processes. Now, if you come and you stop their access to Forex in whatever way, they have one other option of sourcing Forex through the black market.
Yes.
And rather than you creating focus for your official market rate, you are making the black market to boom. And once the black market is booming and they get those inputs at the black market rate, now what will happen? It translates to increase in cost of production. And there is increase in production, there is increase in cost of the product. Then who suffers on the long run? Because those costs will naturally be passed to the consumers. So we create systems without looking at the whole value chain of the policy that we create. You don't come up with a policy for the sake of the policy. We must look at that policy holistically and look at what other part of our life can that policy, or does it have the potential to negate? You must deal with that value chain. You don't come up with a policy and stay on the high ground and say, look, this policy, we do this, we do that, just as we had with the recent NERA policy. Beautiful policy, a direction that we should go, but it was not well thought through. So invariably, those that we wanted to include, we were excluding them.
Even the more. Because now the fear is that even many bankers will tell you that they do more of deposit now. People are just withdrawing and they're not bringing in money back into the bank. And that's a little scary for me,
Look,
I say.
Why should I bring it back when you have created some high level of uncertainty?
Yeah.
I don't even trust you again.
Yes, exactly.
If I deposit it,
exactly.
I'll be able to get it back.
Get it back. It's a big one. Now, you talked about backward integration because, I know you deal a lot with the manufacturers and all of them in that space. Yeah. Are we getting there? Are we trying to get there? Because we must learn how to shift away from this import-based economy.
Absolutely.
So are we trying our best, one way or the other, to maximize what resources or the kind of resources we have in our space?
To deal with long-term, to deal with the issue of Forex scarcity, we must produce, we must encourage Nigerians to buy made in Nigerian products.
Yes.
We must deliberately backward integrate. But you don't backward integrate in a year. If you want to backward integrate with the context of dairy, you have to raise the cows, you have to tend the cows, not the traditional cow that we have here that we use for beef. You have to tend the cow. It takes years and years for you to even start the project. Now, we must commend the CBN for its effort at doing that. But we believe much more time should have been given to those businesses that are involved. Because if not, you will shut them out of the access to Forex.
Yes.
You shut them out of the access for productive activities. And what we have done invariably, as while they close down, we are invariably contributing to the high rate of unemployment. So backward integration is the way to go, either for wheat, whether for dairy product, and for many things that we are doing. And before, so that you don't accuse me of advertising, we are running a program sometimes in July that basically focusing on trade and the need for us to go back to trade and non-oil export. Is the direction for us to go. With the volatility within the context of crude oil sales in the global market, we don't even have control over the price of crude.
Yes.
We don't have control even over how many barrels of crude that we produce per day. So what do we have control over? Over trade. We have control over the agricultural produce that we can produce in this country. We have control over so many things that we can produce in this country and also export. You export, you generate Forex.
AFCFTA is also there. We have to take advantage of that big African market.
Absolutely.
To generate. How prepared are we also for that, Mr. Onyenide?
We dare say that arguably that One of the attractions for many countries to log into the AFCFTA is the Nigerian market.
Yes.
We have the market, we have the people,
The
so
numbers.
we are an attraction for any African country. Even globally, you don't discuss the issue of trade, you don't discuss any context of your conversation. Nigeria plays a critical role. And we urge governments, the current government, the incoming government, to focus on infrastructure. We must make our local businesses competitive. If I can produce here, or if I can produce in Ghana and bring to Nigeria and sell at 5 naira, then anybody producing in Nigeria must be able to produce and sell for 4 naira 50 kobo. The moment I can produce in Ghana and bring to Nigeria to sell for 4 naira, and it takes you, a local manufacturer, to produce here and sell for 6 naira, I will rather go to Ghana and produce and bring it here. Then while I bring it here to sell 5 naira 50 kobo, your local businesses here will still be struggling to sell at 6 naira. Which will I buy? I would rather buy the one that is cheaper, of the same quality. Two things the country will have lost. We will have lost the ability to generate tax from corporate tax of those production, and then I have already shipped your jobs away from this place. So it's a double-edged sword, and we have informed government, look, you have to partner more deeply with the organized private sector so that we engage constructively. We give you policy options. It's not, give us the opportunity to make policy options. It's your choice to accept those policy options, but create an avenue where we can share our policy options, and let's see how it works. As I said earlier, it's the Nigerian project, and the Nigerian project is our project, not only government's project.
Finally, I know a lot has been said already, but many would like to always ask that questions. Are there any quick wins, maybe for the incoming administration? Because we know that businesses remain the engine room of any economy. They are the ones to create the job, the organized private sector.
Absolutely.
The jobs are with you. You are the ones to create them. Government cannot create all of these jobs that we need. Unemployment rates are above 30-something% at the moment. So what are these quick wins, the low-hanging fruits for the incoming administration?
We say also that the incoming government is probably one of the most fortunate governments. You know why? When you know your problems, they are solved. We know we have issues with oil theft. Spirits don't steal oil. You don't take 4-liter gallons to go and scoop oil.
Indeed.
So we know oil is a challenge. Oil theft is a challenge. Let's deal with the oil theft. If you can raise your oil production to your 1.82 million barrels per day OPEC quota, you will have made some level of income, and you will have dealt minimally with the challenges you have concerning forex revenue. Once you have revenue, you naturally reduce your propensity, or your propensity to borrow reduces.
True.
Then deal with the issues, the contradictions that we mentioned within the system, support the organized private sector. It is said that out of every 10 jobs created anywhere in the world, the private sector creates about 8 of them. Then if you want to deal with the issue of unemployment, then you support the private sector. If you want to deal with the issue of revenue, you support the private sector. Once you support the private sector and it's thriving, then the individuals thrive, then the household thrive, then government can share in the prosperity of those three.
Interesting stuff there. Well, I'll be speaking to Mr. Adewale Oyeri. The interesting conversation, I must tell you. He is the Director General of Nigerians Employers Consultative Association, known as NECA. Thank you so much for your time on the program. I will keep a tab on you, to always, come in to discuss issues on Business Nigeria. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
All right.